Hello everyone, welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan. Thank you as usual for coming to the channel. Back at the ADA 60H, which is their code for the 20 plus gallon high. It's 23 gallons. Those extra 2.5, 3 gallons are in height, which is kind of awesome. And you can find this aquarium, I believe, listed as a 60H. Could be wrong, but you know, once you're on the channels that sell ADA, it's not that difficult to figure it out, should you be inclined in purchasing aquarium just like this. I'm so glad I did, as a matter of fact, because where it's situated in my fish room, it replaces what would be for the average person. Hello, Elmo. Elmo, say hi to the camera. Oh, he's so blasé. Anyway, I sit there and I look at this, so that would be a television set if you weren't a fish nut like I am. But it is my one of my showpiece aquariums, and that extra height kind of gives it a cube-like TV vibe, so I just stare at it. Honestly, if I'm working on the computer there, I often just drift my gaze upwards and stare at this particular fish tank. Not to say I don't turn right or left, because I got plenty to look at there, but this one's front and center, and front and center means just that. It's probably my most viewed tank by happenstance, not necessarily any specific favoritism or decision making, but as I said, it's front and center. And I'm glad that it is such a thing of beauty, because if it sucked, then I'd be looking at something that gave me the heebly-jeeblies. But this aquarium rarely gives me the heebly-jeeblies. I don't find too much wrong with it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Obviously, I do a crap ton of maintenance, as we all do if we want to maintain a Planet aquarium at a fairly high level. You know, let me walk that back. Some people keep really cool jungle aquariums, and they're proud of how little maintenance they do. So there are other avenues one can take, but I try to have my cake and eat it too. I want the crystal clear water. I want a ton of plants. I want them out of the water. I want them in the water, but I don't want algae, and on and on. So a lot of times people who keep mega jungle tanks are much more tolerant of green water, which is awesome. I love me some green water. I mean, I've bought green water before, but I use it for feeding Daphnia and fish fry versus watching my ornamental tropical fish swimming around in it. So this tank has been giving me nothing but joy for the last year. For those of you who've watched me from day one, it's hard to see the hardscape right now. Hard to see the hardscape. There's an alliteration that I didn't intend. But that was 2 pieces of what I call ironwood, a heavy driftwood that I locked together to form sort of a throne in the center of this tank, and surrounded it with Cerio stone. These are 2 of my favorite ingredients for aquascaping. But you know, as I kind of move forward in this hobby, I realize that if you're keeping a lot of plants, obsessing over your hardscape becomes kind of a silly endeavor, a bit of a futile gesture, because the plants will become your aquascape. And you know what I mean by that is what you're looking at right here. You don't see all the time and effort I put into the hardscape, because this aquarium is dominated by plants, and I'm very happy for that development. And you know, no remorse. Sometimes, especially earlier on, I would say I need to clip these plants because I need to see my, you know, this aquascape that I work so hard on. But you know, right now I'm not in that mindset. I do trim a lot of plants so I can see through the aquarium, so I could see these gorgeous SB rasboras with that Art Deco bronze-like color and patterning. Look at this, look at this fantastic mystery snail. I think that's a magenta, that's the variety with the yellow foot and that kind of purpley red shell with the striped pattern. I've got an army of panda coreodoras, everybody's favorite small coreodora. Busy, busy, busy. There's a nearite snail, a little bit of dwarf hairgrass down here. I gave up on a carpet. I mean, there's only a couple inches of free space down there anyway, so a little bit of Sterigen repens, or S repens as I call it, some hairgrass, you know, and moss encroaching, always encroaching. But I mean, look at that aqua soil. This is a year in. I don't do any gravel vac, and there's like zero detritus or algae or anything, you know, gnarly there on the bottom. And that's what I mean by having my cake and eat it too. I don't particularly like looking at mulm, as healthy as it may or may not be for your fish tank. And I'm happy to report I don't have any. And I know, even though I have an awesome Oase by, you know, the Thermo, I think that's the 650, plenty of filtration for a 20+ gallon tank, but it's not what's cleaning the bottom of this fish tank. That would be the plants, and to some extent the invertebrates and those coreodoras just moving around, eating, kicking things up, keeping things clean. But the plants, right, they are growing like this because all the poop and stuff that might ordinarily be sitting on top of the substrate is in these beautiful green leaves. You know, I mean, I'm missing some of the science there, but it's unavoidably accurate that healthy, robust plant life means less crap at the bottom. You know, that's all you have to remember, kids. And it's in the top 3 reasons to keep live plants is to, you know, to maintain the health of your aquarium. Maybe it's the top reason, other than they look so badass, right? So there's some pogo stem and octopus, some leopard veil, which I'm letting grow in the corner because it floats over and kind of frames that TV set vibe I was talking about. I've got some Rotala indica here. That's what I think it is. I know it's not pearlweed, and for a year I've been thinking it's Rotala indica, but it could be another variant. I could be wrong about that, especially when it comes to the variants. But I just trim that with like garden shears, like house scissors. I don't worry about each little stem. I literally put the blade in there, go 3 inches down and chop, and then pull it out with my hand. And in a week later, it's back to the top of the water. I've got some rummy nose rasboras. That, ooh, what's he chasing? That glorious slate gray with the red nose. They seem to get along famously with those SB rasboras. So 2 kinds of rasboras, the coreodoras, the invertebrates I talked about. There's also a nice little group of ember tetras, and they're about as red can get. There's a gimonstrous amano shrimp. I know there's a ton of them in here. I don't always see them, but that, you know, as I said, invertebrates will do an amazing job at cleaning a heavily planted aquarium of some of the things you don't want to look at, and keep stuff from collecting in all the fronds of, say, this Christmas moss here, which looks great, right, as it moves up that piece of driftwood. Sometimes it encroaches down along this rock here, and it can start to become a bit of a, you know, I don't want to say a nuisance, but it will win the battle against these other 2 plants if given the opportunity. But that's pretty easy to manage. It's what I would call a high-class problem. I also have, I don't want to forget him or her, and probably him, but this little honey gourami in the back. Now, he's not miserable, just likes to be in a more, you know, secluded spot. But if I put in a blackworm or something, he's out, trust me. And a lot of times when I look up, I see that incredible flare. What a great alternative to a betta fish for $5 or $6. Such a beautiful, peaceful fish. Peaceful, no aggressiveness whatsoever. And you can keep them individually. You don't need a group. So many fish say you need a group, best in groups, best in groups, you know, all the websites, all the best thought leadership, but you do not need a group of honey gouramis. Just like a bristlenose pleco, they are happy as one, which is, you know, somewhat rare and a desirable attribute when you're trying to consider your livestock for a community tank. I'm moving down the pothos here. Look at this. I don't have the heart to cut it, but it's like literally, this is where I walk to get to my bedroom, and it's now in the way. So I already snipped about a few weeks ago that one, and then this guy replaced it. I wonder if I snip this one, if I'll get a third prong or what. But once the pothos is going, it just kills it, right? And so it's in one of these little kind of print on demand pothos containers. I mean, this was a little cube with serrations for water flow, and you can see all the roots coming out of those serrations. You see some duckweed trapped in it. I also stuck a few other cool variegated house plants in just to see what would happen. Now I've started spraying these leaves because, especially with a light like this, that's a twin star, with good light you're going to get awesome growth, but you also will get singed leaves, and that's okay. I just have to snip those out. And if I spray, you know, in here with water, I can maintain the longevity of even those leaves. But honestly, clipping them is not a bad thing because it removes some of the shade that's forming down and around back there, and maybe causing this rotala to grow outwards like that as it searches for the light. Again, I don't care. I like both things, and I'll let nature sort of sort it out. And you know, I help. I experiment. I have some fun. I do nothing. Sometimes I go great guns and say it's time for a big haircut, right? Spring cleaning, you know, getting ready for the holidays, whatever you want to call it. I'll give my tanks a significant haircut. I always am maintaining the filters and doing my water changes. So what I mean by significant haircut is just that. I put the knife in the water, the scissors, and start chopping and pulling and get stuff down to, you know, literally a bucket full of plant matter. And then 3 weeks later, it's like this again. So, so happy to be able to share this aquarium with you, my surrogate TV set. Hey, there's Elmo, sitting on my hat here, sitting on my beanie. Did you get trapped in there? He's trapped. His foot is trapped in my beanie. This is Elmo. He actually looks like a puppy, but he's a really old dog. He's my buddy, and he's got a diaper on because in his old age he will tinkle when he gets excited. So anyway, that's more than you need to know about Elmo. That's all I have for you tonight. So what an awesome 15 minutes. I hope it was as good for you as it was for me. Okay, everybody, keep your hands in the tank, and ciao for now.